order at 5:03 on Thursday the 19th. And we'll start with the introduction of board members. We'll start with Dave because he's got food in his mouth. Go ahead.
Well, I'm David Roberts, Director of Operations at the Hannaford Career Center.
Where am I? Yeah.
Shannon Thurber, confidential executive admin and HR assistant.
John Ronkowski, WIB member and resident of Bridgeport.
Nicole McTavish, Superintendent and Director.
Wendy Pratt, Assistant Director.
Dan Rosignol, Northwest Madison at large.
Liz Sarah, Mount Abraham Unified School District.
Christina Macklin, and I'm the Addison Northwest School District Rep.
Steve Potts, Middlebury at large.
Austin Haynes, Business Manager.
Christine Wesley, Workforce Development.
Kim Farnham, chairperson, live in New Haven, and the community at large member from Mount Abraham School District.
Laura Harthan, ACSD member.
Vance Bishop, Middlebury at large.
Yep, you did it right.
You got it.
Bill Biederman, WIB Middlebury.
Linda Barrett, Clerk.
Motion to approve the agenda in front of you as written.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. And a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. Motion to approve the minutes from January 15th. Any changes that need to be made? Seeing none, accept the motion.
So moved.
Okay. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Public comment on the agenda. Anybody online? I forgot to ask that. Anybody come into the meeting?
We have Jill, is the only person online. Hi
Okay.
Jill, she can't speak, but hi Jill.
Hi, Joe. Okay, thank you. Okay, any comments on the agenda? I mean, obviously, you can ask those questions along the way. But, alrighty, thank you. Consent agenda, monthly accounts payable. Would you like that?
Yep, that is me, that is I. So we're doing a quick recap of January expenditures. So for the general fund, we had $170,898.32 for AP checks. It was a payroll heavy month because we had 3 cycles. Normally a month has 2 and January had 3. So there was $389,652.80 in payroll. Adult ed, we had $459.70. No activity in the makery. Our enterprise account, we had $3,949.24. Student activities was $6,106.22. And no activity in the BERT. We'll get to this in policy 2.3, but our line of credit didn't have any activity because we paid it off in December. And that is the month of January.
Any questions from anybody?
I have a quick question. I was wondering about the student activities. It seems like a little bit behind number, or maybe it's not, but I'm just curious what they were for.
Great question. On the spot, I can't recall
That's okay.
the unique makeup of each
Just
of the check
curious.
runs, but
Okay.
I do know there are some FFA registration fees that we're doing for different groups. I think Skills USA had some registration
Yep.
fees.
Yeah.
David, anything else that I'm forgetting or missing?
Nothing, I can look.
I think that's exactly what it was. Because
Very-
it's,
very-
we
Registration
have the,
fees.
required timing to get all of our students registered.
Yeah.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
Skills is a big one and FFA conference.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
Would you like a detailed report of that or?
That's okay. I'm satisfied.
Okay, all right.
Thanks for asking. So that's a consent, all those are consent items. So I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Jeff. Second. Second over here, Laura. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. A great subject is coming up on personnel matters. And we have somebody here that has been selected as the new special needs coordinator, start date of August 18th. Some of you may recognize his smiley little face from the, when
I did, thank you.
DR Trimmer used to be in town, and that's where I met this wonderful person. Anyway, but I think we have scooped him from another district.
I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to vote on this.
Conflict of interest.
Still serving our peeps. I have to be wearing my Virginia.
Yes, not yet. Although it'll be accepted around here, because it's, that's right, anyway,
Give him a new hat to wear to work.
yeah, new hat. He's got one.
You know me well already. I was born with a hat on.
That's true. So Jeremy, you wanna take a few minutes to talk about, I mean, we have a resume in front of you, but give us your sales pitch, whatever you'd like.
Sure, I'll just stand.
Sure, thank
Well,
you.
first, I appreciate this opportunity very, very much. I've always been a person of many trades, and I feel like this is the right place for a person like that. I'm also very much alternative path educator, which is what I was doing in ANWSD, and my program shifted a little bit, and I am shifting myself back into an alternative path because it really is where my heart is, and I think it's where a lot more students than anyone knows really belongs in something that's a little less traditional and a little more exploratory for them. I'm really excited to have worked with so many students at Virgins, and I know so many students at Mount Abe. I've coached, also I do a lot of coaching, I've also coached in both schools, so I know a lot of students, I have connections all over the county, and I'm just really excited to be able to have an impact on students from all over the place, you know, really, and also we just finished course registrations, and I certainly, knowing where I was headed, not all my students and families yet know that I'm headed here, but I already started to work a little like, why don't you check out the Career Center? And that is my next pitch actually. Tomorrow will be when I announce to families and students so that they all have time to adjust, and that is going to be part of my talk with them is like, now you have, if you didn't already have a friendly face here, you will have one here to help make things, make the path work for you. So I'm really excited to be able to start and hopefully have a really good impact here. Also, anyone that knew Mike, which I didn't know him personally, but anyone who knew Mike gave me a great deal of confidence and honor really to step into that role. Megan Olson, I work with very closely. You may all know her from DO, her husband, but people like that, and Carrot Griswold, people who I like really respect, feel that I will be a good fit here, and that means a lot to me. So I'm really excited to get started next year. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
August, but
August. Next school year.
I signed your contract.
Yeah.
so-
Oh, yeah. No, I'm in.
Thank you.
And we did let Jeremy know that he didn't have to stay, so.
And I probably will.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Jeremy.
So the next new hire, who starts March 16th, her resume is also in your packet. If not, Nicole has passed it around. You guys get a chance to look at it. Another stolen employee from another. You want to talk about her a little bit? Or?
Yeah, Susan is, she goes by Sue. She's currently the bookkeeper at Stafford, and she's been there for about 10 years. Really great fit skill-wise and culturally, and when this opportunity came up, it almost felt like the job description was written for her, just in the recruitment process and everything that came out over the last few weeks. And after a lot of back and forth, she's agreed, and we're fired up to have her start March 16th. So she's finishing out, as we said, she's currently at Stafford. She's given them about a month notice to transition out. And then we're looking forward to having her start in March. She already understands Tyler, so our computer systems and our tech systems are not new to her. And just again, very, very skilled and competent, and I think she'll be a great fit for the team. So,
Great.
anything else, David?
I would only add that she's currently the executive assistant and does some, but so this is moving into a field that she's very, very interested in and looking to grow. So that's also really cool that we're able to help her grow.
Thank you, Dick.
I
Any
have
questions?
I have a quick question I should have asked when we were talking about Jeremy. Is he already set up as a CTE, or does he have to go through the program?
I'll let
He
Amy
won't-
take that one.
Sure. He won't have to go through the CTEP program because that's just for teacher endorsement, and he already has a special education license. But there is something that's specific to special ed CTEs, but it will probably be 1 to 2 classes.
Okay,
And that's it.
thank you.
How many special educators are here at the Career Center?
Good question, just one. And we actually, our position is not actually a service provider, they're not a special ed teacher. They coordinate the special education services between the sending schools who do the special ed services and to make sure that our teachers and our programs adhere to the student's IEP. And then obviously, if we have any glitches or issues, this person is the liaison between all of our sending school districts. They do a little direct service, but mostly they literally are the coordinator of the services.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
You'll have 2 now, or he's
Just
still
one.
one?
We just
Okay.
have one.
Gotcha.
And many of the board members may or may not know there are some positions in the Career Center which are required by the state of Vermont. And a special education coordinator is one of them.
I have a generic question, not related to these two people in particular, but is conducting background checks a routine that happens every time you hire somebody?
Yes.
Just wanted to ask that, thank you.
Both on the sense that we do reference checks, including everybody's immediate supervisor, and also they do a background check through the police department and FBI.
We do, yeah,
Right.
so the fingerprints goes through the FBI database.
Yep.
And then I run a criminal background check within the state of Vermont. And then I also do a child and adult abuse background check. So we hit all aspects. And the fingerprints tend to take a little longer, but the criminal records check, I get back, it's instant. And the child and the adult abuse one is usually 24 hours and I have those back.
Thank you.
Is that nationwide or just?
The FBI check is.
Yeah.
Any other questions from anybody?
Nice work.
Yeah.
We're thrilled.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure you're making everybody else happy, but nice work.
I think they're gonna miss Jeremy. You know.
Yeah.
Kind of like Stafford and Mrs. Daniels. For benefit, though.
Just to follow up on your question, half of that money for student activities was for Aaron's class. They're buying equipment to get ready for sugaring. So they spent about $3,800 on
Okay, thank you.
sugaring equipment.
Are they tapping yet?
Yes.
I know some places are. Oh, excuse me.
The answer is,
Linda would know.
the answer is yes. I asked
Awesome.
one of the students when she was changing buses at the school yesterday, I said, so how many trees did you tap? She goes, 6. She tapped 6.
Oh.
Yeah.
So each one had a certain number they had to do.
Awesome.
She was a first-year student, so she was.
It's funny, once they find out you're on the board, they all want to know that. Are they tapping yet?
I think he's hoping to have it tapped by the end of the week, but
Yeah, the way the weather's
at
going.
least something.
All righty. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And good job, guys. Good job.
Kim, you need a motion.
To accept both of those positions, am I correct? Or just, I'm looking at dates, I've only signed one contract. That's why I said.
Yeah, yes,
Jeremy
please, if you could,
Jeremy?
if you could
Jeremy's
accept
coming
her.
on there.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion to accept new hire, Jeremy Brooks.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, no abstentions? Motion carried. Next item is a reduction in force notification, which is known as a RIF.
I think we still need Susan's too.
Okay, sorry. She hasn't signed hers yet, is that?
She has you, I had you sign hers tonight.
Yeah, but Jeremy's, I mean, we're accepting it, but technically not. A start date is what, August 18th?
Right, he's starting for the next school year,
Okay.
but Susan is starting the school year.
Starting 16th of March. Anyway, a motion to accept Susan Dodge May as employee.
So moved. Second.
Second, thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. And number 3, as I just said, is a reduction of force notification.
So each year, not every year, but most years, the contract dates required for the reduction in force notices do not align well with our board meetings. Nor do they align, nor do the timelines align well with our registration process, where we are still counting registrations. So this isn't technically required, but I feel like it's the right course of action for the board to be aware that for programs where we do not have enough enrollment, I will be issuing reduction in force notices to those instructors, with the hopes that throughout the registration process, we do in fact get enough registrations and we can pull them back. But if I don't meet the deadline, then I can't issue the RIFs. So we have just, our applications were just due last Friday, so we don't have good clarity onto exactly what we're gonna have yet. But there are at least 2 programs which are trending pretty low that I intend to issue reduction in force letters at this time. And so I just want the board to be aware of that. I'm not sure if you technically need to take action, but I did want to make sure that the board had transparency in that.
Can you talk a little bit about what the minimum numbers are to run a program, state standards, all that?
So the state number, the magic number is 8 FTE, which is a combination of the whole day. So many of our instructors have pre-technical classes part of the day and then technical classes part of the day. So you have to add up all of the fractional FTE and the program itself. So like if you think of Lisa Rader's program, she has the pre-technical classes and then the technical classes. So across that whole program, which is all the communications program, she needs to maintain 8 FTE. So that's the same with all of our programs. We know historically that what we get in our first, we've talked a lot about this, what we get in our first round of registrations of students that are accepted doesn't hold strong. We lose some percentage of those over the process when the students are actually doing their schedules at their high schools because for whatever reason, it doesn't work in their schedule and so then they don't end up taking the class. So there's not a hard and a fast number, but if we're not in the 8 to 10 FTE range, we often don't make the 8 at the end. So we try to watch the program registrations, keeping them in the 8 to 10 realm. But again, that's not a hard and a fast rule. And for sure, if they're already trending below 8, then we're in trouble for those programs. So hopefully that answers the question. There's not a hard and a fast rule, but we need to maintain 8, and to get to 8, we need to have more like 10 to 12 to start.
Any questions? Liz?
I mean, I just want to appreciate your work there. It's got to be one of the hardest parts of the job, and I appreciate that you're keeping us informed, and I hope you know that. I mean, I would think this would be our opportunity to support that, both you and the people you're in conversation with. So thanks for the heads up and for keeping track and doing that hard work.
Thank you. And it's always, it's a human endeavor, right? It's always a challenge to, while I don't want to alarm people that may end up having a position, I also feel pretty strongly that if you don't know what's going on, if you don't have the context, you can't make the right decisions for your family. So it is kind of a tough call this early on, and it's just the way that all the timelines line up, which is unfortunate.
One question. So does this imply that some programs could possibly be put on hold? Is that what you're saying? temporarily or?
We have one program that I don't know yet, but it's looking like we might have to put on hold. We have another program where we have more instructional staff than aligns with the number of students.
What constitutes a high number in the class where you need a support person in the?
The statute is in a hazardous occupation, so something where a student could get hurt, diesel, construction. If you have 16 students, you have to have a teaching assistant in there. You can have more in a class that's not, like our medical professions or our visual communications don't require that. It just depends on the mix of the students.
I know that my focus is often healthcare, but
Yes.
sitting in the position of workforce development, is there anything that I can do as a community member or a partner to help with any of those programs? Are you willing to share what programs those are, or is it not public knowledge yet?
I wouldn't want to share them until after our registration process is through, because we literally haven't even read through all the applications yet. Wendy's doing that right now in real time. By our next board meeting, I should have pretty strong numbers for you, for the board to bring, as far as and again, what we see in the March report board meeting will be what students have applied and been accepted. But we know that when they start doing their actual scheduling, we will lose some number of those students too.
Seeing no other questions, we'll move on. If you need to ask a question later, obviously, the timing is not important.
Okay, one last question.
Go ahead.
Okay. I know that, I don't know if it was last fall or the previous fall, when Nextdoor made some timing changes to schedule. Is any of that going back to the way it was before?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'd say no.
So we've got one school system that's running on a completely different time than the other two,
It's,
or other three actually.
Middlebury it's not just a bell schedule, it's an actual curricular and programmatic difference. Right? They are an IB school, they have a different program and curriculum and bell schedule.
They require more things for graduation, more specific things for graduation.
Right, we've talked about this before in the board. There are a number of credits overall, but there are also named by name classes. And overall credits, oftentimes CTE can meet those because we have embedded credits, and Jillian's given you that presentation about which classes carry math credit or science credit. But if a class is named by name, then it's much more challenging for a student to waive that class, not a waive, but receive those credits through CTE, because we don't have that exact type of class.
Okay, thank you.
We am there 30 minutes later, or some such thing.
Liz?
Oh, I was thinking the statewide curriculum, I saw a presentation on that. I think it was 22 credits, which is less than all of us. But I think the idea, if I understood, part of that was so that you would have space for really creating part of your own high school experience. So I'm wondering if when that kicks in, that would be all the high schools across the state, possibly, and that would leave some flexibility for CTE students for people to kind of go into create their own journey with some of the time, right? Is that, because you've followed it really closely, do you feel like the statewide curriculum will be supportive of?
I think there's not clarity yet, because I don't know what's gonna pass eventually. The idea that you just described is accurate, which is less overall required credits. The rub for CTE comes in that one of the required credits is a year of foreign language, and another one of the required credits is a fourth year of math. And both of those would be in the named by name category, which becomes problematic for career technical education students. And specifically in the foreign language, many students don't aspire to need that foreign language, which you would need if you were applying to a four-year college. Also, that would generally take place in the freshman or sophomore year, which would then, in that freshman or sophomore year, you have many other requirements: health, PE, social studies, math, English. So in particular for us, since we have a strong pre-technical program, it would put a barrier in place for students who wanted to take pre-tech. And pre-tech is our avenue to technical. And especially at the 9th grade, which is where most students would likely have to take the foreign language. When students are coming up from the middle school, that's where we get our strongest and most students applying, because they're very excited about CTE and they want to take it in their freshman year. So I think the idea of having less required credits is helpful, but the particular ones that they're currently pushing are problematic. Yeah.
Nicole, have you heard the instruction about a statewide graduation credit flat level 1 at all from anybody?
That's exactly, so the Agency of Education has put out their recommendation for statewide graduation requirements. And the presentation that we heard today, actually at my BACDED meeting, Erin Davis, who is the new Chief Academic Officer, came and spoke. And the idea is that whatever passes, school districts will have to adhere to. And there may be some latitude that they can add one additional credit of a local requirement, but that would be it. Which, again, overall credit-wise may be helpful, but once we get into the named by name classes, and especially a fourth year of math, which many students do not take currently, and a foreign language, which, well, all Middlebury students do, but many other students do not take a fourth year a full year of foreign language at the high school level if they're not intending to go to college.
I need to put my head on.
Is that also,
Yeah.
is it, if you don't want the IB diploma, do you still have to have that number of credits?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
And theory of knowledge,
And-
that's one of the named courses that Nicole was referring to, which
And-
is very difficult.
And 2 years of health and a year of foreign language.
It's interesting because like my son took foreign language online, VHS, virtual high school, so that might be flexible. And then I would really hope that the math credits would align with technical education. And just what you do for math in these classes, it's hard to imagine.
It's not logical.
Yeah.
And I did ask that question, and I think the intent is that the fourth year of math could be in a technical course. For our students, though, about half of our programs are humanities in nature and wouldn't carry a math credit. So, for example, if you're an ART student or a VisCom student or a medical profession student, you might pick up something else, but that fourth year of math, named by name fourth year of math, you'd have to take that outside in addition to your 2 hours a day every day here. So it might work out for some kids, but not the ones that weren't in a math bearing class.
Is there anything legally, I know there's certain ages where kids can be exposed to different things within this building. Is there any reason why an 8th grader could not take pre-tech?
The state of Vermont has, yes, the state of Vermont does not allow it. Only 9th through 12th graders can access career technical education classes, and only 9th through 11th graders can access pre-technical courses. And only 10th through 12th graders can access technical courses.
They're really helping us out.
No.
Sorry.
And that's not a nationwide rule, that's a Vermont rule.
Any other questions regarding IEP? All right, action items. Steve-O is out of town, unfortunately. And I didn't know if anybody from policy, I mean, there's a second reading, any updates, discussion.
I can just state that most of these had very little changes, and there should be a red line version for Bill specifically. I mean, I get whole policies that are completely overturned because superintendent is capitalized or not capitalized in some of these, so take a look. But there's very little controversy in these these records. I guess that's all I could say, keep it short.
So, Linda, how do you want me to vote individually? What are you thinking?
Don't see any reason why you can't put them all together.
Okay. So 1 through 4 would all be, and they're all in the second read. So I would entertain a motion to,
I'll make that motion.
thank you.
I'll second it.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyway, so, any further questions, the committee can direct them to, but, I need, if you are in favor,
Aye.
raise your hand or say aye. Thank you. Anybody opposed to doing that? Seeing none, motion carries. Ends report, financial condition and activities, number 5. In the link.
Yep, so policy 2.3 is another one of mine. This is a quarterly snapshot of where we're standing, just from a detailed look at expenditures and line of credit and that sort of thing. So it's through the month of December, which is the second quarter of the fiscal year, so halfway through the school year. And it just gives like I mentioned, a snapshot, a bill of health of how we're doing. In the business office, we look at year-to-date spend and encumbrances and what remains relative to the budget. So at this stage, through mid-February, it's a bit outdated compared to today, but as of midpoint in December through the fiscal year, we'd spent about $2.7 million of our $5.7 million budget. And then when you back out encumbrances, we had just over $500,000 remaining to spend. So as I mentioned, that number will be adjusted when we do our next report. And aside from payroll and other major expenses, we'll satisfy our final bond payment for the year in a few weeks. That's about $120,000. So there's some adjusting that we look at, but that, as a snapshot, it's a pretty accurate representation. It talks about the line of credit, which I mentioned earlier. We paid off in full. We had borrowed about $1.7 million since the start of July, just to float operating expenses and payroll. And with the influx of tuition payments and the state payments in December, we returned to a cash positive position and were able to pay off our debt in full. And much to Dan's chagrin, we did rack up about $14,000 of interest expenses. But that's all part of what we budget for, and that's David, you have a point you'd like to make?
Just a happy note is we did earn $2,000 of interest in January.
That's helpful.
First of the year.
We do have, now we have $1 million in the bank, so we're earning, so we're making some of that back.
And what David means by that is our general fund, any cash that we get in our general fund is tied to an investment account, a money market or municipal investment account. I don't know if you want to explain how that
Sweep
process
account,
is.
so every night it takes the money out, invests it overnight, gets it back to us.
Yeah, so we do generate some return on that, and when we have an influx of our state and tuition payments where $1 million and change generates a lot of interest in a month. So that's some positive news, but it's still, we do pay a lot in interest on our line of credit to borrow money. So that's the offset. The other big paragraph that is touched on there is the interfund activity. So we have to sweep funding from general fund to health reserve fund to cover HRA and HSA expenses for healthcare. And that is the biggest interfund activity that we see throughout the fiscal year as far as having to move cash and account for healthcare expenses. There's some other topics covered, but I'll kind of leave it there as a high level summary. Are there any questions on Christina?
I have a question about what's left to, what remains available to spend. Like, is that number a normal number, or is it a number that makes you start to have to talk to people and say, hey, we gotta start watching what we're spending.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, payroll is fully encumbered, at least the known payroll costs, everyone's salaries and benefits, which if we think about the pie chart, that's a big component of our budget. And then other major expenditures programmatically are either encumbered or they follow a purchase order system.
Okay.
The $500,000, as I mentioned, compared to today, it's a bit inflated because we know we have to make a bond payment, so that number will come down when we execute that. But relative to how we think we'll settle the fiscal year, we're still in a pretty healthy position at this point in time. So nothing to be concerned about from my perspective.
Thank you.
Bill?
So, kind of in relation to Christina's question, because we took out a line of credit in November, December this year, and wasn't it like 250,000 more than we had to take out the year before?
We extended the ceiling on our line of credit because when we did the cash flow analysis, we realized it put us in a vulnerable position if we did have to pull more than we were. At that point in time, we were only allowed to borrow 1.5 million. So we actually pushed it up to 2.25 as a worst case scenario. And because we only borrowed 1.7, we were able to pay that off in full and life goes on. Last year, we had to pull an emergency line of credit because we were in a very challenging position from a cash flow perspective this time last year. But that was sort of an emergency, unanticipated, right as David and I were starting, it was sort of, we were in a much different.
There was a fire. There's a big fire.
We were much more dire then than we are now, so I think
Okay.
thankfully, this feels a lot more routine and business as usual.
So you don't see it changing much next year?
No, I think the only thing that would change next year is just when we do the renewal with the Bank of Middlebury in the summer, because it's a 1-year line of credit renewal you have to do every single year.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just go through the same process of looking at what we think our anticipated cash flow needs are, and then we'll consider what that ceiling, the limit is. And the bank typically likes to put in a percentage more than what you think your max will be, just so that there is that buffer.
Mhm.
And that's why we have a 2.2 million line and we only pulled 1.7.
Okay. Thank you.
Status of the audit.
Still ongoing. We're working through all the pre-work that they've asked us to do. There's a 700 questionnaire piece to that and a whole bunch of checklists on payroll and grant documentation and contracts and so we're still working through that. They're scheduled to come in for a site visit the week after next. So that's positive, and David and I are hard at work just getting all the pre-works ready for them to come on site and meet with us the week after next.
Any other questions?
Our goal, just to close out the audit thought, is to have a final audit in hand before the end of the school year. Compared to last year, that's accelerated, but compared to a normal year, that's behind. So with that, our hope is when we transition into the audit for FY26 next fall, we will have pretty much a working draft, if not a final draft, by the time we do our next budget, which is what we used to do. That's what that's the goal, and I think if we can get an audit in hand by the end of the school year, we'll be in good shape for that.
Thank you. Any other questions? I need a motion to accept the nth report of 2.3 financial condition activity.
So moved.
Second?
And a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. I need a motion to accept as report 2.7 compensation benefits.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All right, anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Next, state rules and a Perkins. 16 VSA. 1541C. Who would like the floor?
So the board may remember that there are 10 board rules that we divvy up over the course of the year that are required for this board to certify, essentially, that we do certain things. And those need to be in our board minutes. So we are now on Rule 4, with 4 of 10, which is that we employ a assistant director for adult education and a director of career technical education. So as the board knows, the superintendent also serves as the director in our regional technical school district, so you employ me in the director role. The board also knows that we do not employ an adult assistant director for adult education. We went through 4 in 18 months due to the certification requirements for that position. Those new to the board, to get the assistant director for adult education certification in the state of Vermont is essentially a master's degree level program. And most of the programs are part-time jobs at a wage which would probably not align well with that outcome. Some places that are larger districts or larger centers have more activities in the adult education realm and generate much more funding, because adult education is an unfunded mandate in the state of Vermont. You have to make enough money to pay the person to do the job. So unless you have a pretty big and robust adult education program, you can't generally employ a full-time director unless you're subsidizing that position with your other funding from the K-12 program. Since our district is not in a position to subsidize the position, whoever holds this position essentially has to make enough money to pay themselves. And one of the things about adult ed is we, by mandate and also because it's in the belief system of young people and adults transitioning careers or coming into a new career, we really work hard to keep the tuition of those programs low so that the tuition is not a barrier for entry for people who want to take the courses. So it's really a catch-22 to keep the tuition low enough that people can take the classes, but high enough to create enough revenue to pay the position. So we learned through hiring really good and hardworking people who we would have loved to keep, but that decided that it was not worth taking all of the classes and doing all the coursework. And it wasn't the cost of the coursework, we were willing to pay for it. It was the actual taking all the classes, writing all the papers, doing all the exams, to maintain a certification that isn't a very high wage. So instead we just took another track after we lost our last doctor of educational technology who could not earn the degree without taking all of the extra courses. So we just changed track, and instead we've hired a coordinator who actually, I can't believe how lucky we got in hiring Roger, who you met at our previous board meeting, who's already just lighting it on fire in adult education, and I'm really excited about it. And I wouldn't be surprised if I came back in a year and said that we do now have enough revenue to have a full-time position because Roger is doing such a nice job. But that's a long story to say that we do not have an assistant director of adult education. Instead, we have an adult education coordinator who is doing the work of maintaining and expanding the adult education program, but is not a certified licensed certified administrator.
Any questions? I need a motion to accept the Rule 4 progress.
So moved.
Would you like me to read that all out, Linda, or?
No.
Thank you. And second by Dan. Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. So we had a general conversation a while ago regarding the board work calendar. Shannon supplied a couple of pieces. Liz has sent something along. Christina, I'm sure, could contribute to this piece, but we never established a particular work group to put this together. So I'm putting it out there, and I don't know if we want to put it as part of some other group that's already exists, but it's a minimal amount of work regarding the fact that you have some of it already done. And, you know, with between my eyes and Nicole's eyes, there's things that can be squeezed in there. But I think it will help everybody to have that as part of the folder that you get sort of at the beginning of the year along with the calendar, to remember when we talk about things and why, and it gives yourself a chance to educate yourself about what For instance, what ends reports are coming up and things like that. And some annual reports that are given from the business office. So I'm looking for some advice about what direction we'd like to go in with that. Don't all speak at once, but
Is it
anyway.
related to the work plan too, or like,
So, yeah, I apologize for
Yeah.
those should have been just one number.
Okay.
That's on me, I did not catch that. The link there is an example, but if the board would like to pursue having an annual work plan, we need board members to do that work. So essentially 9 is just an example of what 8 might look like, if that helps.
that does help.
I'm
Actually, that's-
obviously on that group.
9 looks pretty interesting, the interactive,
Right.
that Excel spreadsheet, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of Excel spreadsheet.
I know you are. I'm hoping you will contribute.
Can't
to
put it
this.
in Excel, it can't get done.
I think it makes sense to have a different group of folks doing it,
Okay.
because I don't think it belongs to any of the existing committees per se. But it doesn't seem like something you have to meet every month for the whole year. It seems like something that would take a couple of meetings tops, knock it out.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be willing to help. I mean,
Thank you.
usually that kind of thing is tied to like the board retreat, like you establish the work plan and the board goals and all
Right.
of that stuff at the beginning of the school year, right? Is that what we're trying to?
I think it's a part of it. I
Okay.
think, it lays things out, especially for new members to say, oh, we do this, what's that? That kind of thing. So it's partly historically informational that, doesn't necessarily exist for new members. And part of the responsibility of what the board does. So you're talking about, goals for the board, how long have we been trying to do that?
Yeah.
Anyway, but,
We need to do that.
yes, we do. Yes, we do. Anyway, so,
I would also be willing to help with
would you do that? Thank you. And Dan, Mr. King of Excel, would you be willing to?
I'm on 4 committees. Board
Don't talk to me about committees. Do not, you're talking.
What's the magic word, Dan?
This will take one or
No.
two meetings.
Yeah, this is like 1 or 2 meetings. We're not talking, the whole summer.
I'm pretty good with Excel too, so I don't.
You're running for select person
That's
too.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah, get ready.
up to my ears.
And Nicole's schedule, of course, is also part of it, because I think her insight will help you, at least with career-related pieces. But again, the input from, the Montague, I'm not sure what Middlebury does for a work-based schedule. Do you have one? You guys have one?
Our
Okay.
exec committee does it.
Okay, see, so executive board, which we don't have.
Yeah.
But you're right, the other executive board's still at Montague. Oh, really? Because I used to be, but again, you had to have it when you had 6 elementary schools. Right. Anyway, so who would be the contact person? Would that be helpful for you guys?
Can you just repeat who's going to be on the committee so I know who to call?
Sure. Christina. And I will volunteer for that. You know my name.
So 3?
Laura.
I got Laura, Kim, and Christina.
Christina, myself. And Dan's.
Liz, did you say you were?
Ooh, she's good.
I mean, it's a couple meetings, right?
Right,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
let's
all
do
it
it.
Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you, Liz.
All right.
It's really helpful. Just to get us a little bit more organized, and I think it will help on the goals piece.
I think so.
Which we kind of need right now. Anyway, so, and the work plan, please take a look at the link, because the other piece of it too, when it does come out, it's really helpful if you do read it and want to offer some more input. Gee, I'm new and, I really would have liked to, attend a teacher's board meeting, whatever. It's just all sorts of things like that that are helpful if they get added or something like that. So in your packet, and this has taken a little while, but we have the approved ESA staff master agreement. We had a change at the end that appears to be agreed upon. I have agreed to sign it after school vacation, the 1st of March?
May 2nd, or March 2nd.
March 2nd.
March 2nd.
Yeah, I have it on my phone. But anyway, thank you. And of course, Elise will also be there, but take a look at it. There are some, actually there were some dinosaur pieces in there that got changed, which are good. And talking with Steve, or is it, I guess Middlebury had the same issues. They had some pretty dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah, related material that was like, whoa.
They called pregnancy and illness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like,
Wow.
yeah, but anyway, it was corrected. Yes, anyway. So again, it was, a deep dive into it, and we were successful in doing that. And on that note, I believe this year, we haven't heard anything from the teachers yet, but they will be requesting a arrangement for negotiations. So with that thought, Judd hasn't determined what he'd like to do, but we do need some expertise at the table. And the conversation that Nicole and I have had, and I can't speak for you, Judd, but you may agree with us, is to hire somebody professionally to come and help us with that.
I do agree with that.
Yeah. And it worked well during our end result, but I think Judd got a chance to see how that works, and especially with the mediator, and it's very effective. They know what they're doing. They do listen to what we need, and so on, and so on, just similar to what the teachers do with their negotiation teams.
And it makes it much less personal. Such a small school, such a small board, everybody knows everybody. It's very, very difficult for it not to be personal. So it sucks to spend the money on a professional, but it really, after being part of several of them, it seems to me like a good idea, at least to try it.
What's Monty doing these days? Are you guys doing that particular method or
Yeah, we
collaborative?
got a lady who was coming over from New York, but she started her own thing because of all the changes.
Sure.
And so, yeah, she
Is she?
somebody that supports us.
Oh, good. Is she a private mediator?
Yeah, now she is.
Okay.
Because there were cuts in that area. But
She was a
But-
federal mediator for a while.
she was a
wasn't she?
federal
Yeah,
mediator,
that's
so
what I
now
thought.
she's
Okay.
not. But it's really, I mean, in some way, it's not like we weren't paying for her before.
Right, right.
It was, we were still paying, and I actually think that now that I suspect that somebody moving from federal to private, I'm not sure that the cost would be any more, because you can also say, oh, a couple hours, maybe we don't need you the whole meeting.
Right.
Like you can just be really thoughtful about it.
Right.
So I cannot imagine doing it without that
It's
person
challenging.
there. There's just no.
Yeah. And they do have a lot of support, and they're very comfortable with it, which is good, because you're right, some of the people we've dealt with in the past on support staff did not have the support initially. If I remember the very first contract, we were kind of giving them like, well, I know it's the next step and so on. And I think it's been helpful for them. Not that that group's really big, but I think from a personal knowledge perspective, and having the confidence to be able to say, we'd like this, this is important to us. And feeling they can step up and speak to that piece is supportive and helpful for them. Anyway, so please keep that in mind. We haven't made any decisions yet, but I think it's an important piece for us to take a look at in the future. And it might give some of you a chance to say, yeah, sure, I'll come and sit on that, as long as I don't have to be on the hot seat per se. But you still, obviously, you're involved in the decision-making, the ideas and things like that, but the experience, I think, is really important. Jen?
I know that I'd be interested in doing it again with a professional at the helm. And I think I've said this at a meeting prior, that it would be good for anybody who is interested in being on the committee to do it before and like have some pre-meetings before the first set of negotiations, because it takes a lot to understand why we might be asking for what we're asking, like to get the dinosaur bones out of there and get some of that out. Some of it doesn't seem like we should be fighting for it, but then when you learn the backstories or why, it just takes a little while, at least for me, to wrap my head around why we all are asking for the things we are. So it's helpful, I think, to have some pre-meetings before, even if we're not the professional there, but like before we're in the first meeting.
So people would know the negotiating, is it every couple of weeks? It could go as long as a year.
Right.
Is it after school? Is it the evening? What, can you give some people some parameters?
so far with the teachers ones, we've been coming back in the evening. And the reason I say that is because with the support staff that we just did, in order to make it work for the school day, we were doing it right after school so that the support staff didn't go home and then have to come back. And it also worked into the custodian's schedule to do it right after the school day. So those sorts of things can get decided on in your ground rules meeting. So if there's a compelling reason that something should be at 6 o'clock versus 5 or whatever, those sorts of things can be decided. So if that's a limiting factor for somebody who would otherwise want to be on the committee, that's another reason to have some pre-meetings to figure those things out. What was your other? So far it's been about every 2 weeks traditionally. That kind of keeps the flow going. Once a month seems like too long, plus it drags things out, and you sort of forget things.
Couple hours, 3 hours?
We usually limit them to 2 hours, and even if there is more to do, we limit it to 2 hours because otherwise, again, you just sort of it just gets to be too much if there's not a hard stop.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful.
And also traditionally, we haven't negotiated in the summer. That's something, obviously the teachers and some support staff are off during that time, so it worked well. But those are considerations. And again, as Judd mentioned, the ground rules are established, so those types of things are part of the conversation. And, they also need time if they have to bring some back to their membership, and we do too, to sit and digest and talk about, what's important to them and us during the process.
And in each session, there have been times when we've said, oh, there's a school vacation coming up, so let's do once a week, rather than wait 2,
Right.
or, so it's not set in stone, but we try to be very formal about those sorts of things so that you have the right amount of time to plan for the next meeting and do research before getting back.
Okay, thank you.
Anyway, so we'll finalize that a little bit down the road as we get approached by the union to, sit down and set some time up and so on. But it's usually a letter from them that comes to us to let us know that that's ongoing. Before I forget, on the resumes that you were given, we want to make sure that they stay here and they don't get out beyond this room. So if you want to pass them around, we can probably read them down here.
Still need to vote though.
So I need a motion to accept the master agreement from ESA staff.
So moved.
Thank you, Chuck. Second. Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Let's see, meeting time for finance committee, is there a need for changes? What was that?
Yes, it was discussed, it's, the reason the 8 o'clock meeting was set up was originally so Nick could play golf afterwards.
That's true,
And,
yes, I do remember that.
We now, I play golf, but I don't need Nick to go to 8 o'clock.
There you go.
So, after polling the team, the group, it seems that 3 o'clock, just before the policy meeting, works on the same day. And it just seems like it works for everybody. We talk, flexible. So we'd like to move that meeting to 3 o'clock on that same Thursday. And we have 1 hour, because then the policy starts at 4, so it'll be a
It works.
hard stop, as we call it.
Do we need a vote on that? Time change?
Can you give me the date and the time change again?
Yeah, the board warned the meetings, so as a group, remember, we warned them also, if you're gonna change, we need to redo that.
Second Thursday, first Thursday, which Thursday is it?
This finance is the second Thursday of
Second
the month.
Thursday.
But it's gonna be right before policy now.
Right.
So it will be.
Yeah, well, she was just asking the day, so.
Yeah, policy's the
And
same.
I'll redo those things tomorrow and send them all back out to you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you. Great.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock, okay. So, a motion to do that, please?
So moved.
All right, and a second. Okay. All right, all those in favor of changing the time to Thursday, the second Thursday of the month at 3 o'clock?
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you. Anybody opposed? Seeing none? Nick would be okay with that, I think.
Maybe.
Has anybody seen him? Doctor?
No, I know he skis. I haven't seen him on the golf course floor.
See,
So, I don't know
when
what
he
he's
changed
doing.
his whole, he's probably in Florida or someplace. Our financial guru. Anyway,
Yeah, he was.
on it. So next, we have the superintendent's report.
So you may have noticed your inbox is filling up with legislative reports.
6 today, I think.
Yes, and that's really what's happening. So CTE is on deck right now. All the committees are discussing CTE. I think none of the committees have the same idea about CTE. There's a lot of questions about CTE, and CTE is complicated because we have different governance models, we have different, I mean, it's complicated in this state. So I will continue to send out those legislative reports. I could not honestly tell you right now what thing is rising to the top. I don't see that, and people who would generally know that kind of information are kind of, our advisors are saying the same thing. So we're watching, we're giving input. We've been asked to testify quite a lot. Our larger group, the directors, have an association called BACDED. So all the CTE directors actually have hired a lobbyist now to help the statewide CTE effort. Because it's happening so fast and in so many different committee meetings, nobody can be in one place when 3 different meetings are happening at the same time. So I will continue to send you those reports, and if things start to feel real, I will ensure that you understand that that's the case. Dan's been really great about writing letters to the editor and reaching out to elected officials. I would encourage you to do that as well. That is part of the role of the board, is to effectively advocate. I will say that that Peter Conlon, I'm sure at huge risk to himself, put out a map and he put it out as a reaction. He didn't put it out as like, this is the final thing. And he was very clear about that this is not the final map, but somebody needs to put a map out, so I'm gonna do it, kind of thing. And so that's generated quite a lot of healthy discussion. And there are some other maps that have also come out, including the AOE's proposal that we are one CTE, not district anymore, educational service agency. So again, as soon as anything becomes real enough to react to, I will endeavor to make sure that you understand that so that you can react should you choose to. Questions?
Thank you for sending the links. It was a lively conversation at the UVM medical board meeting when they said, oh, we need a legislative subcommittee. And I went, what? Like this? And they said, I said, well, in the school system, we already hired it. And they said, well, we have 2. And I said, do they report to anybody? Anyway, so they will be reporting to our group because they realize they need to do that.
And per the board's request, I am sending those same reports to the superintendents of our sending school districts, so they have them as well. So I'm trying to keep everybody informed.
I had a quick thing I just wanted to mention. I can't say where I heard it, but Middlebury College and Dartmouth were discussing EMT money training that's coming from the government. And I'm kind of like, well, I think that's great you guys are talking about it, but why don't you talk to somebody like us? And I heard it from somebody's wife or somebody's husband. And, it's the kind of thing where they should be talking to the CTEs about this stuff. It's not really a thing for the college to do. But I think they, I'm just trying to think of how we get them to work with us better. So.
Good question.
Well, Bill, at the same time, St. Mike's has their own, EMT piece, and so does the UVM. So they do have.
I understand that, but
they do
Middlebury's sitting right here.
They have their own entity.
Yes, they are.
So the idea is that the money they're getting is to train.
There's federal
EMTs
money coming
in college
to do some kind of EMT program in college.
Oh,
There's no way they run that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know specifically about that, but I've been to several different sessions that are talking about expanding the use of Pell Grants for short-term programs, like an EMT program or an LNA program, to make that more expansive. The rub is that there's less money in the pot now. So, I don't know how that will play out. I haven't seen anything particular to EMT though, but if you have anything, send it to me. We can Google
If I
it.
find out anything else I'm not supposed to know, I'll let you know.
And just so the board knows, remember that this is our first year of having EMR and EMT. So our first year medical profession students this year are earning their EMR, emergency responder certificate, and then next year they will earn those who choose to take part in the program will earn their emergency medical technician, the national one, that's portable, so they can take that anywhere and use it. It's pretty exciting.
And can I put you on the spot on this one? Because you actually have a son in the program. How do you like it?
He loves it. He loves it. And again, very preliminary, but the numbers for medical professions next year are huge. They're kudos to Stephanie and all the work she's doing, and I think the EMR and EMT program is exciting students. We've had a real problem with attracting boys to that program, and we're looking at seeing a change there. So I'm really excited about that.
Good. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot.
so in reference to federal monies, as I mentioned, my son has applied to American Welding Institute. There is some Pell Grant money, not much, but it's there. And he spoke with the Department of Labor on Tuesday, and they don't have any money. So this crap about having money is either it's been used up, they didn't have any true answers to those questions when, students come in that have, income levels that support those things. It's not there. So I'm questioning, where is it? Is it in the state? Is the Fed money? Right now, there isn't any. So, he's getting some support because of his income, but it's, they want to foster these programs and, apprenticeships with people, for instance, in plumbing, electrical, and so on. It takes money to get these people certified and then expect to work full time to support their income needs. So if you do have a conversation with the legislator or whatever, it's not showing up where it supposedly is. So I'll just speak from personal experience.
Speaking of legislatures, is it time to invite them to come see us again at a meeting so we can just have a group conversation? I don't know if that's helpful or not, but.
That's a good question.
Certainly before they're up for reelection. That's when they want to talk.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
noticing an increase in missives from Rob North, knowing that he's coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and
So.
Steve Haverton's been getting some heat.
He's been getting a lot of heat.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just a thought. that
Yeah.
it's a way
Right,
for us to.
and, depending on what groups they're into, and if you watch some of those videos, you'll see how much who knows what and how much they don't know. And with the testimonies and everything else going on, and the ones that aren't on education or finance aren't saying boo because they have no idea. But anyway, so I think those two that are really under the fire the most.
That's where I think Rob North stepped out of his box and he started talking about education and he said, oh, it's so easy. We're going to fund the students and we're going to give you 2.5% more every year. And I wrote to
Talking out of his
and said,
hat.
what's that?
Talking out of his hat.
Yeah. And so I wrote to Ruth Hardy and I said, when was the last time you were able to survive on 2.5% increase every year? I said, our insurance went up over 40% in 3 years. And then there are also $6.2 billion in the hole on infrastructure. $6.2 billion. I heard that's like the entire fund. That's the entire.
I've enjoyed the snow this winter because it filled in all the potholes.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's So, you know, and then my question is, if the state starts funding it again,
Mhm.
we'll be paying for that infrastructure repairs after we've been doing our own here.
Right.
So it's kind of penalizing us for actually being out in front of all of these repairs.
Mhm.
When, you know, being proactive may end up costing us. Something's gotta be done.
I think it's unrealistic that we would fix up all of the buildings in our state. I think that's a part of the conversation.
You're right.
Well, they're closing them down, like Steve O said, the reason they were able to go 2.5% year over year is because they closed another school. And
Well,
that's
it's
not
interesting, some of
sustainable.
the towns though that asked to go out to vote, and they voted them down. They said, no, we're not closing the school. So once I think, in the conversations I hear of the public saying, when are we gonna get our voice to come to the table and say no, or yes, we don't want that school closed, and what's the plan? You know, whether you go to the hairdressers or whatever, they talk about that. And the hairdressing school in Essex has 20 people on the wait list that they can't get in. I heard that the other day, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And those people make a lot of money. It may not show up in their taxes, but for the amount of money that they, charge, and they will admit that to you privately. But that was a program that I got approached a couple weeks about, cosmetology, and you know what? It's a livable wage. They do quite well. And they're young, and they like it, and they wish there was something a little closer for them to, other than Essex, or what's the other one, O'Brien's, if I think of it. Anyway, to go and do that type of thing, So they'll stay in Vermont if they can make that livable wage. All righty. Any of the committees want to talk about something that's going on? Obviously, negotiations, we took our turn. Finance may not be actively doing anything right now, and policy's been very busy by the looks of it. But anybody else want to add anything?
Facilities, we're not going to have a meeting this coming Thursday, but last month we had a meeting, and we're kind of still going around and around with EEI. That sort of has a negative feeling. Not around and around. They keep informing us more, and they're doing more work on our behalf to budget more and figure out the nuances of what's possible, what's not.
They're doing a nice job in the proposal.
Yes.
Well, just a quick update. Their engineers and vendors show they were at North Campus this week, looking and poking around, getting ready to do bids, to get bids in. We're just finalizing on some of the details around, we got the big things, but there's some small things that we're trying to do. I'm working with the staff at North Campus to make sure that we're all in line. I've got the leasing process started, and that's we feel really good about that. We budgeted $75,000 a year for 20 years. We think we can come under that. Interest rates are better, so all that's moving forward.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Anything? John, go ahead.
The open house recently was fantastic. Again, as usual, they're lots of fun. It's super fun to talk with the students. It's really fun to talk with the teachers. I finally, again, made it over to North Campus right at the last half hour, but Mr. Mills and who's the other person up there? Greg. We had so much fun talking about diesel engines and things. And if you ever get a chance to visit the North Campus, there is I don't know if anybody's into engines. Imagine an engine that would be in a diesel Dodge pickup truck, up to date with a diesel particulate emissions filter and all of the stuff. And it sits on a stand. It's got a radiator. It's got an exhaust. It's got everything. And they can almost program it to have faults in order to get the students to then chase the faults and figure out what's going wrong. It's a $20-something thousand unit, and it is awe-inspiring. And to see Craig and Dave and their enthusiasm for it, and there were no students around when I was talking to them, but we just had such a fun time talking about all the equipment up there. And again, as I say, I think every meeting, I wish I came to this school when I was that age, because looking at these things, it's absolutely where I should have been. So every student should come here.
It was $44,000.
I only looked at the left side of it.
And it does highlight the impact of us spending money smartly from our BRF and equipment and reserve funds, stewarding that money and really using that in smart ways. That's a real example of that money going to great use.
Well, it's reflective too when they go to some of the, skills competition classes, and I know Heritage Ford's got a big piece up there, and they do very well every year, especially with diesel. And it's gotta be helping. Christine?
Oh, I was just gonna say, maybe we should have a school board meeting at North Campus soon.
That'd be great.
And maybe we can get a little tour, which would be awesome.
It's an amazing facility.
There's some cool stuff up there. They've got, basically, they've got everything to build an electric go-kart that's huge. And they can do so many things up there, and the kids really learn a lot. And a lot of those kids are out in the community working part-time. So already doing their jobs.
And they take it to pop and do it again next year.
Yep. It's pretty cool.
Good enrollment up there too.
Yeah.
Our, both those two programs in particular are, have the most enrollment.
Well, we also have the barn. Which we,
People love the goats.
The goats.
and when we would have meetings up there, when they were doing the renovations here, you could sit and watch the goats.
Yeah.
As this thunderstorm came in or whatever was going on. But anyway, it's just a nice place, and nice and quiet down there. But anyway, and a welcome neighbor to the rest of the people that are in that complex. The first building, as you go into Manelli Drive, I'm in a position where I can tell you, is currently under renovations by UVM, and it will be a consolidated piece of their whole design right now. It will include orthopedics, podiatry, and rehab. Thank you. I knew there was another piece of it. In October-ish, we're looking at it all being done, and it was a quick okay from up above at the silo, because a good 20% of orthopedic patients and others, those other two groups, come from the college. And once they heard that, they realized the population, how many are actually using those facilities. And it was a very big piece of them saying, go for it. The other thing is, we're not building a new building. It's an existing building that's just been gutted, and yes, it's $16 million to do all that, but you're looking at x-ray machines and scanners and other things that have to go in there. And to be able to update.
Is that the building that was extension, or is
Yeah,
extension?
yeah. And then finance was on the back of it for Porter. But anyway, so that's kind of something I can let you know. There's another big surprise coming, but not yet. Anyway, but a lot of it's financing thing and getting people to donate and so on. So there's some really fun things going on that Porter is leading the way, especially in quality and things like that. So I'll share that piece. Anyway, board reflection, Judd. You won it because you came in last.
Yeah, there we go. Look at how well we did on this meeting. It's only 6:20. Well done, everyone. I think my board reflection was mainly the success of another open house here. So thank you all for all of that, because it really shows the place off really, really well. And it's just, once again, it's just fun to see how engaged the students are.
That open house was phenomenal. It really was a treat.
There was some good food too.
It was, yeah.
How well attended?
It was good. It was a good turnout. We had almost 300 between both campuses, which
awesome.
is a good turnout.
That's wow.
And it's always fun to just watch people as they're exiting, because everyone says the same thing. I had no idea what was going on here. It's so fantastic.
And it's a lot of families, and I saw a lot of little kids, and yeah, that's always great.
And for folks that don't know, the Fighting Tiger Drone Club, which also does Lego robotics, and has kids from 6th grade through 12, they went up to Norwich on Sunday and beat the pants off of everybody.
If you want, you can see their trophies sitting on my desk.
And,
We're showing it off.
and they were gracious, they helped everybody else. Somebody got caught cheating against them, but, it's perfect because it was like quadruple penalty points against the other team. But, it's a lot of cooperation. They help everybody else, and it's a great age group of really awkward kids feeling comfortable. The two instructors are doing a great job, and it's all volunteer for them.
Amazing.
So March 7th, they go up to, I think, South Burlington for the States.
Yeah.
And this is the first year they've ever done the robotics.
Yeah, Dan was thinking, maybe he would take them up there just to give them some exposure. He said, now I think we have a chance.
And one of the things he's talking about is because of all the equipment that's in his lab, is that next year they can actually make parts for the robots. And he's, he will start up a piece of equipment in there while the kids are there. And the CNC stuff is so much safer for them because it's actually a closed cabinet, but the kids are controlling it. He's showing them how.
Awesome.
And they're really doing a wonderful job. The kids are completely just, they're into it. The 2 hours on Wednesday nights just fly by. So.
Maybe they're gonna be the future drone flyers at the Olympics.
That's right.
That's right.
Did you see the interview with the guy that was doing it? And they have a whole, building where they cool them down, they rebuild them, they do this. They had to make sure they didn't interfere with the athletes. They have to be behind them. It was pretty interesting. And the sound that you're hearing, that humming, did that bother them? They were really enjoying it. And the coverage was just so incredible because of it. It's top notch in regards to behind, over, and doing the whole thing, including the dog that ran on the track yesterday. That was pretty fun. Anyway, let's see, board reflection. Very good, thank you. I'm glad we have that time at the end, because sometimes we don't get to share.
Especially because Jed is.
That's right.
Thank you, Jill.
You're so good at that morning. Do we need an executive session? Okay. Okay, sorry. Shannon, you don't need to stay for that.
I gotta take 2 seconds.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night, Shannon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I need a motion for executive session.
Do we need all the code and everything?
Yeah.
The findings first.
So moved.
You need the
I'm looking at the
findings.
code
It's
now. that I-
on the
Sorry,
No,
what?
but unfortunately, I'm technically delayed here. I can do it, I think. I'm gonna try it.
Go for it.
I move that we get the finding that shows that topics requiring a specific premature general public knowledge would clearly place the board or public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage. To agree on that first, right?
Yep.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Please say aye, raise your hand. Thank you. Anybody opposed to that? Okay, good.
And then,
Go ahead, if you want to read that. It should be in the minute. I'm gonna need agenda.
which one is
The
then
bottom
this
line.
next part?
This one, I think you read the next.
Training too.
So, it's now we're at 313A3, appointment, employment, or evaluation of a public officer or employee. So going into executive session for 313A3, appointment, employment, or evaluation of a public officer or employee.
Second.
Thank you. You're getting good at that.
Are we inviting the superintendent?
Yes, anybody else that needs to be here? Do you need to be here? Yes, and Wendy left already. She said, I'm out of here. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you, or say aye.
Thank you, Austin.
Anybody opposed?
Thank you.
No.
Thanks.
Bye, Austin.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you very much.